I live in the country, and more often than not I was home alone. We don't have any neighbors close by, so I would usually just sit in the yard and tan on sunny days. There was this one time that the sun was out strong and I was standing in our yard when I saw somebody standing in the woods watching me. I sat up in a position ready to get up and run. "Do you need something?" I held. The guy walked out from the woods and over to me, telling me that he lives up the hill and was wondering if I could help him out with a broken water pump. I told him that I was about to head out and that I didn't have time. It was a lie, of course, but there was no way I was going with him. He walked off back into the woods until passing a boulder and I couldn't see him anymore. I was more creeped out than I'd ever been in my life. So with that, I folded my lounge chair up and went inside, being sure to lock all the doors and windows. You would think it ended there, but it didn't. About an hour later, I realized I forgot my sunglasses outside in the grease, so I went back out to get them. I made sure the guy wasn't anywhere in sight before going out there. It took me a little while to finally find my sunglasses. And as I feared, when I looked up, I saw the guy again. This time though, he wasn't in the woods. He was kind of hiding behind our shed so that only half of his body was visible. I yelled that I was calling the cops and ran back inside to do just that. The cops came and took down my description of the guy. Fortunately, I've never seen him since. My parents started leaving me and my sisters home alone when I was 13 or 14. Of course, the rule was not to let anyone know we were alone and not to let anyone in the house. One night, there was a knock at the door. I went to the door and tried to look out, but I couldn't see. We couldn't pretend we weren't there because the lights and TV were on. I opened the front door crack, thinking that the person would be behind the screen door, but that wasn't the case. There was a man, late 20s or early 30s, standing in the doorway. I shut the door quickly and told him to get behind the screen door. He obliged, and I cracked the door. Yes, I wasn't very smart, and latched the screen door. He told a story about his vehicle breaking down and his need to use a phone. I said I couldn't see a car, and he indicated it was further down the road. I asked why he walked past the two houses right next door to one with no car in the driveway, and he became agitated. Here's a general recollection of the conversation. Him: "Look, are you going to let me use a phone or not?" Me: "No, my dad is sleeping, and I can't let you go in his room to use the phone." Him: "Okay, bring the phone out here and I'll use it." Me: "I'm not letting you in the house." Him: "Just bring the phone to the door." Me: "It won't reach. Please leave." Him: "Okay." I shut the door and lock it. While my sisters and I are talking about how scary that was, the side door handle jiggles. He knocks and says, "Will it reach to this door?" At this point, I tell him to go to the neighbor's house and use their phone. He starts to yell, "I bet your dad's not there. Let me in. I want to talk to him." I said, "Fine. I'll go get him." I then went into my dad's room and got his shotgun. I came out, racked it, and said, "Here, meet my dad." The guy started cursing and calling me names, but he left, or at least that's what I thought. He had actually gone around to another door and tried that one. Our dog, who was outside at the time, began barking at him. He proceeded to do something that made the dog yelp and cry out. I screamed out that I was calling the police, and he finally left. I felt really stupid for the entire interaction. I don't know if he was just a guy who needed a phone, but the whole experience was creepy, and I was obviously ill-prepared for dealing with it. This happened to me when I was really little. I was 7 years old, but I still remember all of it like it happened yesterday. I was sleeping over my grandma's house, like I always did when I was little. She never drove her whole life for some reason. so she would constantly be taking long walks everywhere. One day while I was sleeping over, she wanted to walk all the way to the library, which was like 10 blocks away. I didn't want to take that walk. I was a lazy kid. So she went off and told me not to answer the door to anyone. My grandma was the kind of person that was strict and she didn't baby people. So it wasn't unusual for her to leave me by myself at such a young age. Sometime I was alone, the phone rang. I, being a dumb and curious little boy, answered it. It was a man on the other end. I remember he said, "Who is this?" I said, "Danny. Are your parents home, Danny?" I said, "No." "So you're home alone right now, Danny?" I said, "Yes." "Where are you at right now, Danny? Do you know the address? Somewhere in Queens?" I told him. "All right, Danny. Bye-bye now." He hung up. I don't even remember thinking twice about it. But the story didn't end there. Unfortunately, I'd say almost an hour later, a knock came at the door. I remembered what my grandma said, so I remained on the couch. "I see you on the couch, Danny." My little heart sank. I noticed him through the window. He was on the porch staring at me. He was a very creepy looking man. All gray, ugly, and a fat beer gut. I told him to go away. "I got some candy in my truck. Come on out to me." I rented the guest bedroom that I slept in and locked the door. Moments later, I heard the back door being fiddled with, followed by banging and thumping as he tried to break down the door. By some miracle, I heard the loud voice of my grandmother as she yelled at him to get the hell out of the yard and that she's calling the cops. I watched through the window as the guy took off in his red pickup truck as my grandma tried to get the plate number. Unfortunately, she didn't remember it, but she still reported him and his vehicle to the cops. My mom never trusted my grandma to watch me again after that. But I still know that if she had arrived even 10 minutes later, God only knows what would have happened to me.